I believe it's 9 days since I first set up this experiment, this compost-powered bottom heat propagation space. I thought I'd do an update here. Truth be told, when I came out this morning to work with the chickens and to put a compost temperature probe in here, I thought I'd be starting the video by saying it's warming up, but it isn't quite there yet. I haven't really paid close attention to it, but I just stuck this thermometer in and given it about I don't know, a minute to get fully up to speed. See if you can guess what temperature in Fahrenheit. It's kind of crazy. We've had some wet rains, some moist rains, and some cold weather with snow. But right in this, the heart of this pile, it is 124. It's creeping a little bit further. Let's say it's 120 Fahrenheit, which should be more than enough to radiate bottom heat up into containers, so long as those containers are that they're insulated on the sides and they're protected from wind. So that's the next design consideration, is how do I take this now effectively bottom pumping heat space and set in pots and containers in a way that they can absorb that heat and not lose it to the atmosphere too quickly. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, check out the link to the first video. Of course, the roosters are showing off. Let me show you the containers that I'm thinking about working with on this. So, not the most elegant scene, but what are you going to do? I've got a few different irons in the fire, experiment-wise, as far as containers go. The one I'm committing a fair amount of energy into are these black containers, in part because there's a local supermarket where I talked to the produce manager, and she explained that all their cut flowers that come from the Netherlands, maybe, come in these containers, and then these containers are trashed. They're a one-time use container, and so if I don't use them, they go to the dump. And they're not the most perfect container, but I'm going to work with them. They're nice and tall. I've drilled holes in the bottom of these, maybe about 10 holes, pinky size each in the bottom. Filled them about halfway with wood chips, and then the bulk of these I've filled with my standard seed starting mix, which is just a blend mainly of what I have laying around. In this case, I'm incorporating some peat moss and some perlite because I had it. The peat moss I got because there was a nursery going out of business and they're getting rid of it, so I figured I'll put it to use. And the perlite was an old bag that I had. But for the most part, it's compost made from our composting system and biochar. I also have these totes that I bought off of Craigslist that have holes in the bottom filled with the same mix. And then some of these totes, same deal, that are filled. This is from my experiment last winter. I saved all of my mix for my hardwood cutting propagation from the video that I made last winter. And this is a very lean perlite and peat blend. I figured I'd recycle this. It also has some sand in it. My good friend Akiva over at Twisted Tree Nursery down in Spencer, he suggests that he uses just pure sand as a rooting medium, and he likes that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the local quarry and get their pure sand. It's $50 for a truckload, and I'll try some with those as well, just to see what works best. But these are the containers, and so the question then is, how do I settle these into that compost in a way that they'll absorb the heat and hold it? And then secondarily, how do I protect all that from the chickens? So that's what I'm going to experiment with just a little bit now. We've got the compost powered area filled in. We know that the temperature is approaching, if not exceeding, what we're hoping for. And so now the next order of business is to trial placement and layout of these containers. Pardon the rooster, it is a chicken yard after all. And then what I'd like to do is experiment with these hoops as a way to contain these rows, these garden beds of containers, to both keep the chickens out and then also to be able to wrap with Rime or poly or something to keep the warmth in. And so that's the next thing I'm going to experiment with a little bit. Very quick test fit tells me that if I wanted to have one 4-foot arch, tiny walkway, and another 4-foot arch, so I could have two little low tunnels heading north-south, this side with the hay bales is fine, but this side, which was framed in metal wire, was too small. So I pulled that out, And I'm going to extend that out and bank it with hay bales to retain it, which I think will be more insulative and simple, and then we'll see how we can fit it. Okay, so now I've got 2 hoops. I'm going to put one in the middle just to really support them. And then, very rough sketch, I rearrange the bales just a touch to be able to accommodate another set of hoops and give me a tiny walkway in the middle. I tend to always give myself too small of a walkway, but what are you going to do? I prefer crops over comfort. And I'm using the hay bale actually as a place to push this one into. I should make a quick side note here. These are, if you search online for quick hoops, Johnny's Quick Hoops, they have a form where you can take 10-foot lengths of EMT conduit, and in this case this is 1/2-inch EMT galvanized conduit. Should last a very long time. $2 a piece, and you can pay $60 for the Quick Hoops thing, but I'm going to link here to a video where someone shows you how to make it with screws and a piece of plywood, and it works just fine to do it that way. But anyway, so I need to put some more bales to hold the soil here and down this way, and then smooth it all out, and then I should have a serviceable space to both lay in these containers and be able to have access, both of which are important in order to do this. I'm running out of time here this morning to continue on, so I'm going to pause here, just share some notes, and of course this is a multi-part series, so stay tuned. You can subscribe if you haven't to see what's next. And what I found so far, these containers, 4 can sit next to one another in one of these arches. I'm going to pull these over actually a little to get it more in line. So we get really good density. And what I'd like to do is give it a day or two and, number one, see how the chickens interact with it, see how much intervention I need to put. Is it remay? Is it chicken wire? Do I need another arch in the middle? So I'm going to experiment with those things. It's also going to give time for the heat from the compost to migrate up into these containers. In a day or two I can temp probe the containers and see, are they getting, my goal is to see about 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the bottom of these containers. And once I see that, I know I can stick hardwood cuttings, but then with this mix the way it is, I should also be able to put seeds in there and start seeds if I wanted to put poly over these. So it should give me a couple different directions to take. The other thing I want to experiment with, and I need to go and get it, is a truckload of sand that maybe this bed, I put just 8-12 inches thick layer of sand across the top and put my cuttings directly into that. We'll see. It's all an experiment. It's kind of interesting. Stay tuned for the next one. My other plan would be, once I get this refined a bit more and functional, this whole area in here could be another area with more hoops and more bottom heat propagation. I really am excited to get the season going. So that's it for now on the bottom heat compost. Thanks for following the adventure. We'll talk soon.